Happy Friday, guys, and welcome back to Guild Chat. I'm your host, Ruby. It's sure to be a boring show because we're all very straight-laced today and very serious and not at all acting silly. We will start talking about raids here in just a second. I have a couple things to tell you guys first. Stick around after the show is over because we're debuting our PvP League show on point with Jebro and Hurix, and it's going to be really good. Jebro and Hurix have both been working hard to prepare for it, so I'm excited to see what they have to say. We also have an awesome Winter's Day look to the set that you might notice, and we're starting a little bit before Thanksgiving just because I Am 8-Bit, who we've been working with for some Great Guild Wars 2 merchandise, has debuted a couple new things just in time for Winter's Day. We have the amazing holiday sweatshirt for Guild Wars 2 with our little Quaggan. I know, I love her. She's so happy to get her gift. I've been saying all day, this is like the most comfortable thing I have ever had. I know ugly Christmas sweaters are like the thing, but we went with a holiday sweatshirt instead for comfort, so you can check out I Am 8-Bit store and get that for yourself. We also have a holiday plush Quaggan, so I'll have Mark push the Quaggan button. Oh, look at that! Isn't that the greatest?
This is adorable.
Yeah.
Have you not seen that yet? I have not seen it yet.
Right?
It's
a surprise for me.
Yeah, so these are on I Am 8-Bit store now, so get your very own because they are so cute and they are so squishy and snuggly.
Do we have one on set?
We don't have them in yet. Last time we at least got like the little prototype of the regular guy. Not right now. So that's all of the cool stuff we have that's not raids. I keep wanting to say this morning. It's very early for me. Apparently, it's no longer morning.
No, not really.
So we'll just talk about raids.
If you're in Hawaii, good morning.
There we go. Yeah. While I try to figure out what time it is, we can talk about raids. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
My name's Crystal. You just introduced me.
You were taking too long.
Oh, sorry.
I told you it's going to be a very serious show today.
Ouch. So my name is Crystal Reid, and I'm a game designer, and I'm the team lead on the raids.
My name is Jason Reynolds. I'm also apparently the Sass King and a designer on the raids.
I'm Leah Hoyer, narrative director here at ArenaNet, which, as we'll talk about, has some impact on raids. So
just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit, yeah. So I know a lot of you guys have been getting your faces smashed in, per Colin's prediction. Everybody's getting their faces smashed. But there's a lot more going on than just smacking around the bosses and vice versa. I mean, there's a little bit of story. And one of the things that we've been talking about is how you manage to make that work. We've got the raid design, and then we have story that needs to kind of relate to the main Guild Wars 2 story, but not completely spoil it and intertwine. Because you've got certain groups of players here that we're working with. So how did you make those two work together, for starters?
Well, for starters, Jason and I were kind of on the team, and we just came up with this crazy, really high-level story.
Yeah.
And we went to Leah, we're like, we have like these ideas. And it's just like, okay, we can work with this. We don't have to dial it back a little here. But a lot of it was we just gave them the high-level direction that we would like to go, and we thought would be interesting to have the encounters and these type of things. And then from there...
Yeah, because I think... Probably even to take a bit of a step back, obviously, like we're coming out of Hot. Hopefully most of you have played it and have played through a lot of the story. And of course, our model of kind of continuing ongoing story isn't changing. You know, we've got a sense of like we put a big, nice chunk of story out there, but now we're going to spend some time in Maguma sort of diving into that further, and so the next several releases that are coming out we're going to have these great raids that we wanted to have continue that story. And so yeah, we were looking at, look, we know we'd love to have these kind of fights, we'd love to have these sorts of bosses, and the narrative team also knew that we wanted to sort of start weaving in some new elements of story. And so we started to really look back and forth at like, oh yeah, there could be that great, awesome boss that does this kind of thing, and here's maybe some great way to tie it into all the stuff that we want to do. And it's actually been a really fun challenge to figure out how to weave story into raids in the right way. I mean, we've had many conversations about that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a fun process. But yeah, you guys came, said, hey, here's A, B, and C that we'd love to do, and we were like, yeah, that seems like it totally could work. What if
Tighten it up over here a little bit.
And starting to balance the skills with the kind of things that largely we're telling a lot of story ambiently. So, you know, that was, how do we do that in such a way that made that really work? But I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think that's the great way we've been able to make the narrative work in the raids, because we knew from the get-go that it was out of scope for us to have any kind of like story instances. We're like, okay, well, how do we tell this story inside the raids without your standard type of, you know, single player story instance, but then like have all these like little narrative bits like seeded throughout, and how does this all tell a cohesive story?
Yeah, because you know, a person playing a raid doesn't want to stop and have a 1-minute conversation with, you know,
no, and you also don't want to wait for the person having the 1-minute
NPC
conversation.
who's like giving you an interesting lore dump. That's certainly what we wanted to avoid for raids, you know.
Well, and you've got a certain kind of player that's in there when you're doing raids, and it's, if you're going into a raid, if you're taking your group in and you're going in there, you're after, there's a certain kind of gameplay you're after, and you don't want it to be, on one hand, you don't want it to be just static, you know, here's this cardboard cutout monster that I have to hit until it falls down. You want something going on. You want a reason for being in there. But like you said, if you're that kind of player that's going in there, you're in there for one thing primarily, so you can't have story taking over. But it's, I don't know, it sounds like it took a long time to get that balance.
I mean, I think we had good instincts. I mean, these two folks are really, they're experienced raiders, kind of first and foremost, too. So, you know, speaking to people who know, just truly understand what people really come to raids for. It's not like the narrative team had, you know, tomes and tomes of text that you can read places. You know, we knew really early on that what we didn't want to do was put in lots and lots and lots of lore dump. That was never going to be the point. The point was, though, giving it a nice context that does relate to where we're going and what we want to do, and starting to reveal certain elements of the story. And so I think we started off with the sense that, you know, probably less is more. And I think that was a really good maxim across, you know, just all the stuff we're doing in raids is like, okay, yeah, let's make the awesome, super challenging group gameplay be the star of this. It absolutely should be. And so, but to give that context, to give it some meaning, we absolutely wanted to do some, you know, some play around with.
Yeah.
Hey, let's start to seed this idea because this is going to be super cool, and maybe there's a hint of this over here. So that sort of stuff were really where the refinements, I think, went in. So.
Yeah. So you have this whole world, you have 250 years of lore that you're building on. But again, you can't do the big lore dump. How did you use that as a foundation without letting it totally take over?
Wow, how do I answer these things without spoiling stuff? So that's a tough one.
That is an interesting thing that I cannot wait to find out.
Yeah. I think, like, with pretty much everything that we do, obviously there's such a long history because, yeah, there are 250 years of sort of from when we started Guild Wars as an actual franchise, but even then, the story and the lore and the backstory go back even further than that. So that is always an element of what we're doing. And when we come to Maguma, I think some of the things that people have responded to in the Heart of Thorns story is the fact that, oh, wow, well, we started to do all these things, and we've gone and we've found new enemies, we found new locations, we have, you know, the Golden City, and we have Retta Novus and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, and we've barely kind of scratched the surface, and absolutely, we've barely scratched the surface. It's not like there's not more to tell, but so the point is, we've been seeding a lot of things for a while, and now it's like, how do you put that next piece of all the kind of interwoven storytelling that we are going to put into raids and our next season and all of that, and how do they work together in a way that feels like, yes, we are furthering the story, but also, like, we also recognize that there are people who really are into story who probably aren't going to do a lot of raiding or aren't going to complete the raids and that sort of thing. So how do we balance that particular thing to, yeah, we want to move the world forward, but we also want it to be something that can be, you know, shared and recapped, and you have other ways to find out that really critical information too. Yeah. Like that's been an important part for us. Yeah.
And on the other side of that, this is probably kind of a question for you, but also for both of you. How are you're building this gameplay that needs to fit with the narrative design, and I think it was probably a lot easier since you were working with Leah and with the writers from the beginning, but how did you fit the gameplay and the mechanics and everything that you wanted into that narrative?
Ooh.
And no spoiling.
So, like...
It wasn't really that difficult.
No.
You know, like we had pitched, like I had worked on the last boss in the encounter, and I had a really clear idea on what I wanted to do for mechanics, and we had talked a little bit about like who the character was and why she was there, and we weren't going to reveal everything at the end of the release because some of it, the story continues into the next release. And you know, I was like, all right, I want to do this really crazy like attacks with lots of fire because you're in a tree fort.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to burn this whole thing down. And they're like,
we really like fire around here.
I'm like, all right, like we can work with that. And actually, it was really funny because I named everything after like my friends. And so I named all the characters in the last fight after like my guildies from my guild.
That
I did, and like, and so I kept trying to sell them on all these character names. I'm like, yeah, her name is Sabatha the Saboteur, and like, what is she saboteuring? I'm like, everything. And they're like, whatever. Somehow I managed to convince them that these are the best names of the characters.
When someone pitches Sabatha, you're like,
Sounds
reasonable.
reasonable.
Okay, let's do that.
Sounds cool.
It was
legit.
Knuckles. I had to really sell you on.
Yeah.
His character name was like Knuckles. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And we actually call him Nachos. And I'm like, yeah, they're never gonna call him Nachos. I don't get that past writing.
To sell Nachos as a character.
I spun it.
That's
like,
amazing.
this makes sense. And we had this whole backstory about why he was called Knuckles, and it gets kind of revealed a little bit as you like discover some of the narrative elements in the instance. So
is he like
worked.
super with the punching?
no, I'm not gonna. No spoilers.
No.
You guys told me what we couldn't spoil, and I
I
never heard
I
anything
gave
about
some
not
names.
spoiling Knuckles.
I gave some names.
Yeah.
And some backstory on the name.
I kind of like this. So Jason took me through the raid yesterday just to kind of give me a heads up because yes,
Using all
I
my
haven't
cheats.
done it yet.
Burned
Yeah,
through
with all the cheaty dev hacks. I didn't see Knuckles, and now I'm very, very excited to find.
Oh yeah. No,
I'm excited to find this
I
character.
didn't give him a highlight. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Should have given him.
That's
more
okay.
He looks like Byron. No, he does. Everyone's like, why did you? He does.
Is this the guy with the
I love
mohawk?
the fact that all of your character development is like names of people you know who look like people you know, and you just mash those together and yes.
Basically playing The Sims.
No, that's what we all do, really. So,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
totally is. There's a lot of little nods throughout our game like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's everywhere. Oh my
It
gosh.
is.
All right, I'm gonna need to find this guy.
There's like a screenshot of like the three characters that are part of the
No,
encounter.
I want to. No, I've seen that. I want to see him in game though. Now
okay.
I'm excited about this, and now I know who I'm looking for. I like that he looks like Byron.
Well, that was the thing. Like
It's
a bunch
pretty
of people saw
distinctive.
it and they're like, why'd you make an NPC that looks like Byron? And I'm like, it's not Byron. It's Knuckles. He also has a glorious beard.
Yeah, he has a beard and a mohawk. There's not many people that could be. I mean, I saw it and I was like, hey, that guy looks like Byron. So yeah,
Great.
You
Byron
totally
was
did that,
maybe my inspiration when I was building the composite a little.
and I'm sure he was really sad about that.
I did make another Byron in the game at one point.
What?
Yeah, there is a
That's
guild
cool.
puzzle in Plains of Ashford in
yeah.
the human the Langmar estate, I think it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a curator that walks around. I think it's a ghost, and he's just like upset about how messy everything is. And I named him Byron.
That character's amazing.
Everything's all messy, and he's like, "Oh, the curtains!" And he's like straightening the curtains. I named him Byron, but I did this back when he was like in QA, and so everyone was like ragging on him for a little bit. And I felt pretty good about that.
Oh my gosh! I have never noticed this guy, and I've done that puzzle a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, so next time in the room where all the paintings are, when you pull
Yeah.
the curtains,
hate
we're
that
not
one.
even talking about raids anymore.
No, I love
FYI.
and we're gonna have a huge like fan base of people who just go there just to meet Byron the
That puzzle
persnickety
is
one.
going to be so
Yeah.
Byron the persnickety.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like Byron though.
Oh.
He looks like
Is there someone who looks like you in game?
yeah, a bit. There's a pirate named Gates, and you actually get into like a little swearing competition with her.
Oh.
That's so appropriate.
I won that.
I won that.
I mean, I lost that because I never cuss. Yeah, maybe we
I don't
should
think
talk
there's a
about raids
Leah
again,
in game.
'cause-
I'm okay with that.
Oh, well,
Now there needs to be.
wait till release 2 happens. This is happening.
There you go.
We need to get some more peoples worked in there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Oh my
fun.
gosh, that's amazing. All right, so now you guys have some real people that you can go find in the raid.
You can be the Mushroom King because he has a little crown.
Mark, do we
mushroom
have time to change it from Sass King to Mushroom King?
Mark is
like, please stop.
All right. Yes.
Okay, so raids and narrative. You had explicit storytelling. I mean, just straight up. Here's the story. Here's what's going on in the raid. But then we have other things, and we'll go into this more because Bobby Stein's going to be joining us in a little bit.
Yes, Bobby, who was
But-
really instrumental in implementing most of the story and the
there's
raids with this
a lot of
team
good
and
detailed stuff in
so.
there. Bobby's going to talk about details with us, but there's an overarching, just little hints of story that you can look around for.
Absolutely.
And how much time was spent in making all of that happen? Because here are the little pieces of storytelling that we want to put in there. So make it happen from a design point of view. How did that work?
Well, I mean, we wanted to focus on the encounters, right, and then get the story put
Right.
in. And one of the things that we do very well in Guild Wars is having the one-on-one stories. But when you have 10 players in an instance, you kind of want to give them an opportunity to like run around and find things and sort of pick it up like a journal or something. So we just kind of spent some time developing that content and making a little game of it and spawning it around the space. And
That's one of the things I like. You take down the boss and, okay, now we're done. We never have to come back again, except there's so much more to find in there.
Yep.
I think one of the things that came up a lot is in the personal story, it's your story, and the voice is always your voice. And so when we're looking at raids, one of the biggest things came up is who's going to say all this dialogue? Like, what character is going to speak? And at one point it was like, well, what if it's always the commander, or what if it's always this person? We're like, that doesn't really make sense. You guys are kind of here together as like this elite group of A-team type mercenaries or something. It's not any one person's story, it's your team's story.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's basically just the first person who interacts with these things, and it could be any person. Whoever runs forward first, their character notices something, and then they say something that they noticed in the world, and then all the rest of the people in the squad can say, oh, or they can see, oh, this person who ran forward noticed something.
Yeah. I was joking with Jason yesterday that this is going to trigger like a giant stampede in every raid group. Like everybody's trying to be the first one to get there. I saw it first. I saw it first. We do have tripwires.
Yeah, and players will hit it, and like they'll say the line first. So if you really want to be the vocal one, run ahead.
Just go ahead. You know, don't mind the landmines or whatever might be put there.
fine.
You know,
You've
just run.
Created a legion of Leroy Jenkins in Spirit Vale. There's like one guy in heavy armor just stampeding forward at every opportunity and getting blown up.
I want to be the spotlight.
Well, he's going to be the
Sounds
trap
like
finder.
Whatever.
He's going to wind up being the trap finder. Is exactly what's going to happen. Thanks, man. We'll res you later.
But I think also kind of related to this, and you know, I've said this before to folks, we know where we want to take our story sort of long term, and there are steps. And this actually became a really nice opportunity to start seeding in something that we really want to play up a lot more in the future. And so it really became a lovely opportunity to do that in a new way and to find new ways to make that happen so that through the process of raids and making it all, I know I'm so trying hard not to tell people too much, is that through these pieces and these encounters, you really do start to get maybe some inkling of where we may be going next, and that's pretty exciting, I think, to see it. So right now, the story of raids absolutely takes a bit of a turn from where we ended off in Hot, but I guarantee you it's all going to come back around together and sort of make some sense. And that was a really cool thing working with this team, that we got to say, hey, we'd love to start introducing this new thing that we want to be doing. This does seem like a really great opportunity. Let's find ways to make that happen. And I think it was really successful. And kind of like Crystal was saying, once we all kind of had a few of those conversations, it actually became pretty easy to find ways to make that happen. You know, we were sort of going back on balance of, is this too much story here? Are people actually going to take any time to explore in this particular area, for instance, which is a very different thing than
I hope they do.
Do we do or not want to have that story? And so it's also really thinking about with the Raiders' play style in mind, and with the kind of speed and cadence that you get when people are playing through a raid, where are the optimal places to kind of put stuff, and what would be rewarding for people that maybe once they finished a certain encounter, like maybe had an opportunity before, if they ran off again, could they do a little exploration and find some stuff? Oh, that might be rewarded. But you know, if people also didn't want to, it wasn't going to get in the way of just a great hardcore raiding experience. That was the other thing too, is that it should be part of it, kind of woven into it. And I think you guys did just such a great job, and Bobby too. Bobby is in the back of the room. Bobby did a great job.
Hey,
on it
Bobby.
We'll let him come in pretty soon.
Okay,
But
Maybe.
that's one of the things that I really, really love, is that all of this story is there if you want it. But if you are not a player who's into that kind of thing, it's not going to actively harm your raid experience if you're not getting it. It struck a good balance. So I have a narrative question before we take a little break and bring Bobby in. How much I'm the one like, okay, how do I do this without screwing up and revealing too much? I know people will go back to Spirit Vale much later, and in hindsight be like, oh, I see now I understand now what I was looking at. How much do you expect people to piece everything together right now, or to piece anything together?
it's a kind of loaded question. I do think that there are certain places
It
that
was a trap.
Yeah. No, I think every time we design story, we're always aware that so many of our fans know the story just as well, sometimes even better than we do. Like, people get super excited about certain areas. So what we like to do is create story that encourages speculation and encourages where things can go. And that's, I think, the hallmark of good game storytelling, particularly in a vast, rich world like the Guild Wars universe. There's so many things in Tyria and so many places that things could come from, that ideally what's always really cool is if you can get people then having discussions, and it's like, oh, I think it might go this way. No, I think it could go this way. And when there's really good reasons to think both things. And I think, the folks, you're going to start to really get a good sense of kind of some of the stuff that's going to become important pretty soon. So I think it is certainly not beyond the realm of possibility that people will start to piece certain things together and at least be having strong inklings of where we're going. And I think that that's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's some good theories I've been reading. Some are wrong.
And that's good.
Those are the best. Those are fun, because that would have been cool if that's what it's not. But if we were doing that would be kind of neat too.
Yeah.
So
That's very clever. They're all very, very clever ideas.
yeah. All right, Leah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're
Thanks
gonna-
for having me. And
Yeah.
thanks for making an awesome raid that helps to further our
thank you,
story
guys.
just a little bit. So, yeah.
Those were fun. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with Bobby Stein.
Bye, all.
Usually, if you separate out your A and your B, I might just take the A and move. There's also going to be other lines coming up where it's like being treated in a gymnasium. The idea is there's a part in the game where you go inside the main bad guy's mind.
Okay.
So it's going to feel like you're inside a gym. It's like, yeah, but now I know I'm here, which means I'm coming for you. It's a lot of that idea.
Okay. 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 So when I do the take A and B, do you want me to give you like?
No, when we get to that pocket, the bigger pocket, if you just give me the A and wait, and then give me the B if I don't say anything.
Okay.
Most of the time I'm going to jump in and be like, keeper. So I'll just say B and B once we get the right pocket.
And I pulled back on the mic a little bit because I know we're going to be doing a lot of louder stuff, so you don't have to like turn away.
Okay, great.
All right,
Great.
awesome.
Great.
How many pages do you average a day when you do this?
I'm sorry?
How many pages do you average a day?
I have no idea. I don't know. How many pages do I average a day? Is it more like lines, right? Because the pages...
All together, your line count for the folks
531. We got to get that up.
By the end of today, you're gonna be around, you know, you did like 300 by the end of today, somewhere in there,
Cool.
out of 11,000 or something.
I just know that they don't look angry when I'm done, so that's it.
And welcome back. Leah, your hair's all gone, and you're a dude.
Yeah, I tried to fight Sabbath, then she burned it off.
Hello.
You planned for that, didn't you?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Bobby, I will let you do the rest of the introduction for
So
yourself.
I'm Bobby Stein. I'm a hideous beast next to this gentleman. I'm a narrative lead at ArenaNet, and I've been working with these fine folks and the rest of the Raids team for, I don't know, however many months. But
Too long almost.
yes.
I would have been so happy if you just stopped. I'm Bobby Stein, and I'm a hideous beast.
We can just cut that, right?
Yeah, if
I'm
you
sure-
told it, if
yeah.
you wanted us, we could have
Change the
given you
title.
that on the. Yeah, we could have given you that title if you'd let us know. Bobby Stein, hideous beast. All right, so we were talking about just the general lore design and how all of that fits into raids, and now we're going to get into like the fun detail stuff. Who did you name somebody after?
Oh man, I don't know.
"Oh, crap."
Jeez, you know, I'm. Some people get really obsessed with naming stuff, and I just figure this is an opportunity for the people on the team to really have fun, throw their ideas around. I mean, a lot of what I think good narrative design has a solid foundation, but is also flexible enough to work within the many ideas that people bring to the table. So I think, oh man, I don't know, I probably renamed a couple things and upset a few people, but.
I like that then he smiles. It's like Peter Freeze talking about killing something.
Yeah, Destroyer of Fun is a job title around here, so.
It kind of is.
Yeah,
I
no,
like that.
I don't even remember if
So-
I named anything. I mean, I certainly, like everybody else in the team, threw little references and in-jokes and things about, you know, folks and whatnot. But, yeah, I don't know. What I will say is if you are the kind of person to go and explore the raid after you've beaten certain things and you poke around, you might actually see some cool stuff.
Nice. So, talking about naming things, Jason was telling us a cool story while we were, and it's legitimately a cool story. It's not like
Oh yeah. So Gorseval.
naming Gorseval.
So once upon a
He's so
time,
happy.
when we were making we were actually doing like the designs and everything before Bobby came on, and we started like cleaning it up. He used to be a plant monster. We actually call him internally Bramble Boss. So I got his name because I was just like putzing around on the internet looking up plant names, I don't know, and just like mushed them together. And so we got Gorseval, the multifarious, or Gorseval, the mouthful of marbles.
Because nobody could say it for a while.
Because nobody
Really?
could say it.
Really?
Yeah.
Gorseval?
Gorseval.
The mouthful of marbles.
I thought
I
he
like that.
was having a seizure or something when he first said the name. I'm like, what did you
What,
say?
amputations? What?
Gorseval. And I'm
And he
like,
falls out of his
all
chair.
right.
That's fine.
I'm like, Bobby will do a writing pass.
Bobby will fix it.
Bobby was
Just
like,
kidding.
all right.
Sounds perfect.
But it really does. I mean, sometimes you're just messing around, you're putzing around on the internet and hit upon something that works really well. Because it's got that scary monster sound to it, and it works out really well. So well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Colin stole all the thunder anyways months ago when he showed the video, and he didn't know what to call it. He was like, the tongue boss.
guy.
Yeah, that's all it's
Bobby
called
is
internally.
the tongue boss.
Boss.
Tongue boss.
It worked out very, very nicely. I like it. So good job. Make more accidental things happen because
I try. That's
turn out
pretty much
pretty
how I
well.
run my life.
So, so he was a plant boss, and we decided to not do that anymore.
Yeah, so once we started piling the narrative together, it didn't really make a lot of sense for him to be this like thicket beast, whatever he was.
Why did we call
I also
it
wanted to
that?
like up the ante on him, so he's a lot more interesting now. But it's all his hands. He's very handsy. And he's a scary ghost guy that's sort of like merged together. So he's actually like thousands of spirits, like all speaking and thinking as one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
his
was actually
voice.
that was actually really a challenge I think that we faced when we were like, how do we convey this without stopping and having somebody say, you know what that guy is? So
Look at all those hands.
look at all, yeah. So it was great. So there were a lot of meetings where we were like, how the hell are we gonna let people know what this is without saying it. So once you enter the woods, and there's all the spoilers, by the way, for people who haven't gotten that far, but this is the internet, so deal with it.
Bobby, please.
So you go in, and a lot of the things that happen where these spirits are popping up, the things that they say, like normally when you fight a character in Guild Wars 2, they say a bunch of stuff, right? And a lot of it is, contextual to what they do, so that it acts as a tell. But what we wanted to do with the spirits in here is we don't want them to say the same kind of things that spirits elsewhere in the game say, because they have a different tie to the story in this area. So we have all new stuff that they say, and it all tracks back to where they come from and what they are. And then if you explore around, you'll find things. Your character will say things about what they are. We even show the spirits kind of coming together in a couple of spots to where it's like, this is a theme that we're running with, so that by the time you get to this boss, you have a better understanding of what it is. And yeah, his voice is actually a combination of two people talking. So it's actually meant to convey the idea that there's many of these spirits that are trapped inside this thing, but they're acting as one. So yeah, we ran with the whole multifarious idea and kind of were like, all right, how do we really sell this? And it's not apparent, and I know some people are like, I don't know what this guy is. I just showed up and I fought him, but I don't know what it is. It actually does tie into something that we're going to, if you poke around, you'll get a little more of an idea about it, but in the future, there will be more information about it. So there is a point. And actually, right before you get to Gorseval, when you clear the graveyard area, right after that, a whole bunch of things become interactive. So what I would say to anybody is, if you're playing the raids and you're lucky enough and skilled enough to beat an encounter, some stuff may actually appear that you can interact with. We wanted to not make it interactive during the fight so that you weren't clicking on, I don't know, from playing the game, you're running next to an NPC and you accidentally click on them and they're like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, get out of my way, We didn't want you to click on
Never asked for this.
something that got in your way, so we turned a lot of that off. But after you beat it, if you want to go find it, and in fact, if you go in your achievement panel, if you look at the achievements, we even give you some hints as to what you might find or where it might be. But we tried to be a little more vague, so that was kind of the really cool thing too when we were talking about game design and narrative design coming together. It's sometimes it's it's how you present the text or the dialogue along with the gameplay that can, if you just tell somebody, then it just becomes a checklist of things to do. If you're a little bit more mysterious about it, it can actually make it more of a game to actually uncover these secrets. So that's what we tried to do in the raids.
Yeah. Can I, by the way, say thank you for the hints? Really, really, thank you. I appreciate that so much.
The funny thing about the hints too is so there's the crumpled pieces of paper from a journal, which originally, little backstory, that it was originally Knuckles' journal, and we had all this funny stuff about.
Again.
Sorry, the first draft of all of it too was pretty funny because we wanted to say, well, how did he get the name Knuckles? So it was all the stuff about him getting in a fight, and there was this rivalry between him and some of the other bandits, and it didn't quite fit tonally, so we had to change some of it. But there's the journal pages that are spread out. I think there's 13 of them. And Charlie, who's the content designer who placed a lot of these things in the environment and hooked it up, he's just like, yeah, I stubbed in some hints. And this one it was just by the tree, by the water, and that kind of thing. And the best one was in the tree crotch. So there's the tree crotch, and I said, Charlie, I really don't want to change this, but I think I have to.
I understand that it's a legitimate term.
So yeah, there is a tree crotch, and there's your hint of the day. There is a piece of paper in it.
This is why all our text has to go through a writer first.
Oh man, and what's even worse is all the things that I don't catch.
And then there's
I'm on to you guys.
Then there are the things that I know you had a hand in, because I came and asked you about them.
Yeah.
And you were so pleased.
We don't talk about that.
They still make me really, really happy. So, something that's not about a tree crotch. We were talking about players and the player voices and the player behavior as we went and different people get to talk. One of the things that we've done with Heart of Thorns that's really great is that you have a slightly different experience if you go through with a different race. And that carried over into the raid a little bit too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the Hot team, I think, my involvement with Hot was pretty minimal. The team that worked on it was awesome, and they did a lot of things about, if you were playing a different, race or gender, we could take that into account. So obviously, if you're Sylvari, the experience is a bit different, right? So we wanted to kind of continue that spirit, but definitely adapt it more to the raids because, again, like like you folks were saying before, the raid it's not really about like the pack commander stories. It's about the story of the party. You know, like what are we doing as a group? So a couple of things. I mean, obviously we wanted to give all the players in the party the opportunity to speak when we could, you know, at different times or whatever. Like, you know, we run up and touch this thing, and maybe you'll be the lucky one to say the line or whatever. But come and touch this thing. Oh God! I'm calling Stankus. That was assault.
Wow. Crystal's just like, wow, that escalated quickly.
Sorry.
Episode's out of control.
Yeah.
We're off topic.
This is
We're
the last
spoiling
time I'm on, so I got to make it
and
count.
Ruby is trying to assault Bobby.
But the other thing was just that we expect people to fail a lot in raids, and I know from, you know, we all play a lot of games, and every time you hear the same line over and over and over again, you're like, oh God, shut up, right? So the good thing is, like, we now have a throttling system so that we can not have things happen as much. And especially if you're replaying a lot of the same content, you shouldn't hear some of the lines as much as you maybe used to. But then also the fact that where possible, we tried to vary it up so that at least by player race, the lines, even if they were saying the same thing, just had a different spin on them. So that was something we tinkered with. So there should be a bit of variety. And it was just like, you know, if you play a game like GTA and you fail a mission and you retry it, sometimes your character might say something different during it. So we kind of went with that approach that, hey, if you're going through, you might actually hear the same scene, but with some lines swapped out. So we wanted to make it feel a little bit more like you discover something new every time because we want you to play it a lot.
Yeah. And as far as discovery, I'm just going off of some things that you guys have told me over the past couple of days because I haven't completed this. And it's neat learning all of this. You didn't want people just to like hold down the Alt key and run through and be like, all right, find all the things because they're lit up now.
Yeah, and this is something really that became a design discussion because I know like elsewhere in the game we have kind of rules about when you create something and put it in the world, what are the things you need to, you know.
We made our own rules.
Exactly.
All new rules.
It's what Bobby's trying to say in the nicest of ways.
Yeah, we were just like, whoop, threw it out. So yeah, I mean, raids are supposed to be challenging, right? So why would you want somebody to be able to push a button and then see everything that they need to discover? So we're like, the hell with that. We're turning it off. We're going to give you really vague, kind of cool, contextual or loreful hints, but we're not going to give it away. Like, really, you have to work for it, and I guess the downside is for the people who aren't going to work for it, they might not actually see it. But I would say, A, play the raids because they're fun as hell. I suck at them, but I'm going to get in there and try and do it.
Let's party up later.
Yeah, totally. we're not going to last very long.
No, but it'll be fun.
But there's really cool stuff in there to explore, and it's, I think, you know, Leah and the rest of you folks mentioned before, it's like, it's not a story-heavy experience like you would have in like the personal story or in the hot story, but there definitely is a story that ties into everything that if you take the time to actually go through it, you know, we think that you'll get something really cool out of it. And if you don't care about it, it didn't slow you down because we didn't stop and make you click through a million things.
Right. But if you're interested in the story, there's a lot, and that's the thing. Raids are here. I mean, you're not going to just do this for a little while and, okay, now we don't have this raid anymore. We're going to pull the whole thing out of the game. They're here for a long time, so you can go back. Right now, I think everybody's kind of taking their time. I heard a player say yesterday that she's really loving, she's trying it again and again and again with her group, and they're getting a little farther every time. And that feels so good, just making that progress and knowing that you're getting better as a player. But then after you've finally conquered it, and even if you get to some point down the line where you just don't want to do the raid part, again, there's a ton of exploration and story to go around and find in there. And it was a good thing to put in there to give even more playtime to put in there, and even way after everybody has beaten this thing, because I think it's going to be a while. You guys did your jobs really well.
Maybe too well.
Nope. I've heard a couple people, you know, oh gosh, this is so hard. Yes.
It's meant to be challenging content.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always my favorite thing of raiding. That was sort of like discovering the puzzle with the boss and working with my team to get better at it, and then finally overcoming that challenge, and just as a unit, really just feeling that excitement and that joy of beating just the ass out of this thing. That it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that we were able to successfully recreate that for Guild Wars.
Yeah. So speaking of watching players progress over the week, how has this week been for you guys? Just
kind of low key for a release. Like this is
like bracing myself. Like there's something bad happening somewhere.
Yeah,
why is it so calm?
I mean, I've gone through a number of releases before, and
yeah,
you know, there's been a couple of like, oh my god, like I remember some pretty bad bugs that we discovered on. It was like the jungle worm where the event failed when he was like between like 0.9 and 0.1%. He just wouldn't go away. He would just stay there forever, and he was spawning husks. And it took a while to figure that out. Like there was some like really weird stuff like that. But for like this release, I've just been kind of coming into work and reading the forums and reading Reddit. And there hasn't been like there hasn't been a ton of stuff like.
Well, you're doing other work as far as feedback.
Yes,
following up with the community.
Following up with the community.
This is where we're going with that. I just realized that could be taken badly, and I know that's not what you meant.
No, I mean the biggest thing was reading the feedback and seeing what players were saying about it, and players who have previously rated in other games, they're pretty happy. And there's other sides of the coin as well. And I think my favorite post I saw came from someone, I can't remember if it was on our forums or Reddit, and this guy had said, okay, I don't really have a ton of people I play this game with, and, you know, everyone said this stuff wasn't puggable, so I went and found like 9 other people who really wanted to kill this boss. And we got on someone's TeamSpeak server, and we all coordinated, and we took him down after like, you know, hours of trying. And by the end of the night, they had formed a guild, and they had all met new friends. And I'm like that is exactly what raiding is. Like that's what got me into raiding like 12 years ago. Just I want to take down these bosses, and you can't do it solo, so you go find a group of people that want to do it. I remember seeing someone was posting on like my Realm forums, and they're like, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to raid. And I was like, sign me up, I want to be a part of this. And that just got me into it. And then like, you know, I met new friends, and I mean, I met Byron raiding 10 years ago. Like I've known Byron forever because we met raiding another video game. And those are the kind of moments that we really hope we can bring to Guild Wars 2, and that players can take from raiding in our game.
Yeah, well, you're doing it. I mean, you're seeing it this week, and that's extremely cool. Did you all watch the video that Colin sent around a couple days ago of the guild that was taking down one of the bosses?
Oh, is that the one where he like enraged, and then like the one guy just like his like auto attack like killed the boss, and then he died?
Awesome.
I think he vengeance.
Vengeance,
he vengeance.
It was like a warrior vengeance. That's amazing.
It was I mean, you could not plan a better clutch save.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was dope.
But the screaming and cheering on their TeamSpeak or Mumble or whatever they were on was absolutely so much. I wanted to cheer along with them while I was watching, and it's those moments that are making this so much fun this week. It's been a lot of fun to see. So here's my question as we wrap up for you guys. My guild, we're like super casual, but we've been excited about this. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get together a raiding group. And I know I am not in the only casual player guild in the entire game. What advice do you guys have for casual guilds who want to get into this?
Ooh.
All of them. Make it better for me.
Communication is key. Like you have to be able to communicate. Voice is super helpful with that. But other than like patience, get a strategy together.
I mean, we've accepted we're going to go in and get murdered immediately.
Yeah, I mean,
we've accepted
you're
that.
going to like
You're going to. You gotta die.
He's got
the
a
numbers
point.
are there.
He's right.
But I mean, it's fun. You just kind of have to have the patience and take it with a grain of salt and work together and persevere.
Yeah, and a little bit it'll be challenging yourself as a player. You know, on a skill level, like maybe you just have a bad build.
It's true.
But that's what there's tons of guides out there for that. And you know, if you PvP'd a bunch, the build you use there probably isn't going to work in raids. So use a different build.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm probably as casual as they come, but I'm very interested in playing this content. So I think I really need to just get more active with a guild and kind of start doing the things that I need to prepare to it. And yeah, maybe I'll get in there and get squashed, or well, I know I will. But there will be a learning curve, but I mean that you get better at it. And the other thing too is like you're there with a party of people, so you know you get to learn some things and rely on each other. And the other thing I would just say too is, you know, I realize that I think you had said the other day, the Venn diagram of pure raiders and people who are purely interested in story, there's probably not a lot of overlap. There's a little sliver. But for the people who are there, I know like Wooden Potatoes, for example. I was watching his video the other day. It was really great. And, you know, he was picking up on some of the cool things that we had hidden in there. And if you're in that audience where you're not only there for the challenge, but you're also there to kind of experience the lore of the world, you know, take the time after you're done beating something. Or if you know any guilds or players that have already beaten it, if you go in with them as the raid leader, the whole thing will be cleared for you, and you can go in and explore without getting your face melted off. So, I mean, people will have the opportunity to go in. It's just you need to, you know, party up with the right people and maybe go and explore around. So it might be a cool, you know, you get to see the devastation that the raid party went and did. Too bad we can't leave the bodies around.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
The dream.
Peter, is that you? All right. Well, thank you guys very much. And thank you to Leah for coming on and talking to us about raids. Yeah. Leah's like, thanks, man. You can't see me, but I really appreciate
She's waving.
We do not have a show next week because here in America we're celebrating Thanksgiving, and I have no intention of coming to work on Black Friday. And I don't think I could get. No. What? Are you going to be here?
Girl, cheese.
Let's talk afterwards. No, let's talk afterwards. Maybe you can do the show.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That might be that might be dangerous.
Studio is closed. Studio is closed next Friday, so we will not be here. We will be back with another guild chat the week after that, which is December 4th. And right now, we are going to debut our new PvP League show on Point with Jabron Urix, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye.
What?